So RFK Jr. has dropped out and endorsed Donald Trump. This is a huge win for the Trump campaign. And even beyond that, there's something here that is going to influence the future of American politics. And I think it's this coalition building. People are throwing around the term unity, and that's not quite right, because this isn't really agreeing on common moral issues. This is the culmination of creating a common enemy, is more of what this is. And so RFK Jr. is still traditionally liberal, but when you look at the problems that Trump and RFK say are happening in the country, they agree on those. They say this is the common enemy right now. And I think that's a great thing, to focus on the structural problems that are the biggest problems in the country. Yeah, the economy is a problem and the border is a problem, and they've always talked about that, but then there's these underlying issues in the country, these things that have been happening for decades that get little to no attention, that RFK Jr. is totally responsible for bringing to the forefront here. And Trump is absolutely on board with these ideas, which is basically summed up in a phrase: make America healthy again. And this is huge, because America is like one of probably the most unhealthy nation in the world. We have some of the fattest people. We have like the most chronic diseases, most mental health issues. Like, we're skyrocketing in problems. Autism, childhood diseases, all these different things. We had like the most COVID deaths, I believe, based on our comorbidities, because we have so many. And so this premise of saying, look, there's something horribly, deeply wrong with basically what we're putting in our bodies in every degree, from vaccines to the food we eat, to the drugs we take. And this is not saying that any of those things are inherently bad. Like, we're not saying vaccines in theory are bad. We're not saying that food in theory is bad. We're saying that what we're receiving right now, whatever chemicals they're putting in these things currently, their manufacturing process of these things currently, is the problem. So it's not, they try to throw like RFK Jr. in this anti-vaxxer camp, and he's like, no, it's just, do we need all of these vaccines? Vaccines work. Do we need all of them in a short period of time for children? The preservatives we're putting in them, that we probably shouldn't be doing that. We should make them to be ordered, basically, have them all at one time, kind of created and delivered. Don't have them stocked for months on end with preservatives, because the preservatives are a problem. He's saying there's certain things in the vaccines other than the viral agent that are causing problems. It's something we could look at. And for years and years and years, they were shutting that down, saying you're an anti-vaxxer if you at all question, say, hey, maybe there's a problem here. Maybe, like, can I at least ask the question, is there a problem? They say, no, anti-vaxxer. Immediately, like, all or nothing. Either you are blindly devoted to this thing, these companies that, as he said, cannot be sued, have no responsibility, no liability for any sort of issues they cause, have a huge profit incentive to give out these vaccines and make it mandatory. So, maybe there's follow the money. It's a little bit of a question there. It's like, is this as above board as they say? And no, you're an anti-vaxxer immediately. So, but most people are turning that around. And things with the food quality. People realize you go to any other country in the world and the food quality is immediately better. Like, American food is poison. Like, the types of pesticides we use, just the quality of food in general too. Like, our nutrient base is just not there. Not knowing what's in the processing of these ingredients, what's going on, all the seed oils and everything that's causing immense problems. People are starting to question and say, hey, maybe we should go back to more holistic food, more organic food. Unfortunately, in America, it's expensive to be healthy. It costs money, not only through the medical system, which we know is just a disaster, but it costs money to eat healthy. That's a huge concern. And we just hadn't talked about this for decades. But so RFK joining Trump and Trump building this coalition, I think, is amazing. As RFK said, like the Democrats just totally disowned him. They didn't want to talk to him. They shut him down. They libeled him. They're just everything against him. And then even when he's like, I just care about these issues, like the number one issue I care about is what is making Americans so sick in every sense of the word, physically, mentally, what is causing this problem? So if Trump takes him and takes this attack dog, which is RFK, who spent his entire life doing this, and just say, I'm going to put you in either like head of the EPA. People said CIA, which I think would be good, but I think you could find somebody else who would be good too. It's like RFK's knowledge base on the problems that are happening in the environment and their effects on human beings in America specifically. That is knowledge that is just like so specific, and you can't just throw anybody in there and they know what they're talking about. Like RFK is an expert, and it would be amazing to put him in there and have him basically just say, go after big pharma, go after these companies, figure out what's happening with big ag, like stay in your lane. You know, there's certain liberal policies he still holds, but if Trump just keeps him in his arena and just says like, I will give you access to any documents you want, you can run any studies you want, like question everything, just go for it. I think amazing. It'd be amazing. He said in 2 years, you'd already see a dramatic increase in Americans' health. And I believe him. I believe that would be the case. And this shows to me that I always thought RFK was genuine. Like it seemed like he really did run because he cares. Every politician says they're genuine, right? Like they believe in what they believe, and they're running for specific reasons. This is like the first time I can think of where somebody has offered the olive branch, like where Trump has said like, join me, right? Like I care about the things you care about, and I want you around, and I want you to help me with them. I have a better chance of winning. You know, join me and let's work together. And RFK cares. He doesn't care about being elected for the sake of being elected, because he, in a sense, bent the knee a little bit and said, I'm going all in on this. I believe in this. And if you have a better chance of winning, I'm not going to spoil the election for you. So this is really going to bite the Democrats, right? Because the spite he probably holds for them, which encouraged him to drop out and say, I'm not spoiling this election for Trump, because Trump listens to me and he didn't treat me like, you know, a villain for my entire run and call me a liar and all that stuff. So RFK Jr. joining Trump shows he's genuine. He believes in what he's saying. And I think Trump really does care and see the problem with what's going on with everything in our country that involves putting stuff in our body. And that's going to help the mental health crisis. That's going to help the obesity crisis. It's going to take a lot of strain off the medical system. Immense improvements. And I think that's genuinely going to happen. So we'll see what happens with kind of this relationship that's building. But Trump's bringing in people that aren't totally 100% on board, but people who agree with him on a certain issue. And as long as he keeps them in their lane, I think we're going to see mass improvements. So like you have Elon running the government efficiency agency or having a huge part in that, that would be awesome. You know, RFK even has talked about that as a main concern, is like governmental corruption, and he doesn't want wars. And so at least another person in the cabinet who's saying war is bad, you know, that's a good thing to have around. Is if Trump listens to RFK, you can at least be in the room and say, we should not go to war with Iran. We should not go to the Middle East. We should not declare war on Russia, which there's still a lot of neocon war hawks in the Republican Party, for sure. We've seen that from the Israel incident, which is basically like they really, really want to go to war with Iran for basically no reason. So Trump having more people around like that would be good. More independent thinkers, more people who are going to, who are experts in what they're talking about. Like Elon knows a lot about efficiency, right? He runs some of the most successful companies in the world, which he all started. Yeah, and even RFK's idea of putting like the governmental budget, like transparency, put it on a blockchain, can't be edited, all that sort of stuff. Like you could have them work together on that, and you could see some amazing structural improvements. And that's what I want. The border can be open and closed like a gate. You know, the economy can rise and fall over time. Those things will continue to happen in America, but we're on a decline, and those are not going to be enough to save the country. They need to happen, but they won't be the long-term solutions that prevent worse things from happening in the future or the cycle from repeating. What we need is solid structural change. So full transparency of government spending, eliminate all the corruption, improve the food quality in this country, in the medicines in this country, and make sure people are not going insane or there's a huge mental health crisis because of what we're putting in our bodies, or a huge, crisis with sick people. Prevent that sort of like mental decline in our country, that physical decline in our country and the capabilities of our people. That would be a structural change. One of his plans is to try to put term limits on Congress. That would be a structural change that prevents the lifelong Mitch McConnell's, and the Nancy Pelosi's from being in there for 40 years. On both sides, there's just corruption runs rampant because they're able to fester there for decades. Structural change like that is what I want to see. And so I think RFK Jr. believes in that structural change. He's an expert in his field. He's enough of an outspoken voice and an independent thinker. And I think you put all that together and you put him on the Trump campaign and you just run Make America Healthy Again. I think you can win this election on that one term alone. But Trump needs to come out and start talking about these things the Democrats won't even acknowledge, right? Because Trump will come out and say, I am going to make the food in this country better. And the Democrats can't come out and say, well, he won't do that. He won't actually fix these industries because they have to admit there's a problem then, right? There's a problem with the food that he won't be able to fix. Well, their constituents who are paying for everything, big pharma, big ag, are going to tell them, you can't come out and say there's a problem with what we're doing, making people intentionally sick to profit off them. You can't say that. So Trump needs to run on that vision of an American ideal, what we want to create, health, prosperity, wealth, safety, how we're going to do that, the agencies we're going to create, the agencies we're going to destroy, the policies we're going to put in place, specifically how we're going to do that, what laws we're going to create, what laws we have on the books that we can just use, manipulate. That's what Trump needs to do. That's what he needs to say. Clear vision, like what Vivek was doing in the primary season, when he was just like, I'm going to use this law and I'm going to use that to get rid of this agency and replace them with this, like specific things. Don't just say, I'm going to make the economy great. I think he will, but it doesn't convince moderates. It's not going to convince his base to be really enthralled with this is it. This is the time to strike at the elites. It's the time to strike at the establishment, all these massive industries. That's not going to do it. What's going to do it is the specifics of it, who you're getting on board, what your plan is, where you're going to put people. That's what he needs. And I think RFK Jr. will help with that immensely. So that's my thought on this. I think it's a good win for the Trump campaign. And I think the Democrats are probably a little scared of this, right? They treated him like an outcast, and now he's not a Bernie Sanders. He's not willing to bend the knee to the Democrats and be a good little boy every time they screw him. He said, no, if you're going to screw me, I'm going to go to the other guy. So huge problem for the Democrats, huge win for Trump. I appreciate you watching. Leave comments down below, like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.